Hello, I'm Ben Domencino and this is Weatherpulse. In today's episode we have a chat to Professor Matthew England from the University of New South Wales about the current state of Antarctica, its future, and the role Australia plays in protecting this icy continent in our backyard.
Antarctica is so critical climatically for a number of reasons. Probably the biggest one long term is it locks up about 50 metres of sea level. The frozen ice over Antarctica, if it all melted, we'd have sea levels raised by 50 metres, which obliterates coastal cities around the world. We don't think that much is vulnerable to climate change, but we think 15 metres, so 15 metres all up, is vulnerable to global warming. If we do nothing to limit greenhouse gas emissions, we should see 15 metres melt over the next 3, 4, 5 centuries. That's a huge cost to humanity. All of our infrastructure around the coast would be underwater. We'd have to relocate cities, mass migration of people out of low-lying atolls, low-lying deltas around Asia over the next century. Longer term, even worse stuff. That frozen ice over Antarctica, we want it to stay frozen. You can get, the geological records are very clear that during the Eocene, sea level was about 50 metres higher than today. You can't get 50 metres of sea level rise globally without all of Antarctica pretty much melting, as well as Greenland. To put it in context, Greenland only locks up about 7 metres of global sea level rise. So there's a big difference across the hemispheres in terms of how much water is frozen up in these ice sheets. The biggest one that we're concerned about is over the western Antarctic region. So the Amazon, Bellingshausen Seas, that bit of Antarctica has warmed quite remarkably. So it's been a strong signature of warming there. That's where we've seen sea ice retreat. We've seen the oceans get warmer. We've seen the largest melt of the ice shelves. So the ice shelves are what buttress the ice sheets. We want the ice shelves there because they keep the ice sheets in a relatively stable state. If we lose the ice shelves, this is the floating bits of the ice sheet that extend out over to the ocean. If they go, then we see a much more rapid flow of land ice into the ocean, raising sea levels. And the ice shelf melt around the West Antarctic region has been very strong in recent decades. It's going to head in one of two ways, really, and it's probably one of two ways because we're either going to see good action to limit carbon dioxide emissions. Ice melt is accelerating there at the moment. We'll be able to stabilise that if we can stabilise atmospheric carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. If we take it seriously and limit carbon dioxide, we can keep Antarctica's climate to a changed state. It would be different to what it was 50 years ago, but it wouldn't be different at levels that really cost us. You know, the ice would remain locked up as frozen, temperatures wouldn't change too much, ecosystems would largely remain intact. If we do nothing about our emissions of carbon dioxide, we do nothing to preserve the Antarctic environment, the continent will be transformed profoundly over the next couple of decades, and we'd be locking in changes that would just keep playing out for a long time to come. It's hard to turn around a steaming ship that's going in one direction, and each year we're breaking records pretty much for emissions. So if we keep on this track, then yeah, we're going to see huge changes. All of the changes we've seen now are very small compared to what we're expecting because they're just the start of what will be an accelerated change. Australia has a huge role to play because, you know, along with New Zealand, some of the nations in South America and South Africa, it's sort of one of the few nations that has good access to the continent. You know, it's a short boat ride away or a flight, and we've got the scientific capability to monitor some of the changes down there. So in a way, we've got a role to play. It's almost like a responsibility as well because it's in our backyard. A lot of the Northern Hemisphere nations contributed as well, but they're often running their scientific programs via Australia or New Zealand to get there, and so in a way we should be leading the world in Antarctic research.